table over here. That means I would have 4 or 5 tables, right? Yeah, I'd have 4 tables for one. And I'd have a little spot where they could walk in. We made thousands of dollars at each one of those things. And we didn't pay a whole lot for the books. It's because, man, that nice green Yusuf Ali, the fresh printed one, Arabic and English hardcover, they sold it at Alco for $15. We bought them for $2. We bought them for $2 each. You know, in boxes. And I would go down to AMC, and the white boy used to work down there. And I said, man, y'all got any, Qurans in there? Yeah, we got a few boxes. I said, let me get a few. You know, that's all I did since I was doing it all the time. I'm always on the outlook for books. So anyway, the long story is this. Everything catches up with you. So one time, when we finished the deal, I used to tell Chicken Lips, he'd have one of those U-Haul trailers and everything, vans. I said, let me have them scraps and stuff. They didn't handle books right, so they'd have them all on the floor. And I call them scraps. So one time, about a year later, Chicken Lips said, I said, well, can I get the scraps? Ain't no scraps. I said, why is that? He said, I took those scraps and I sold those books for $400. So they wasn't scraps. They were books. So, well, I mean, you know, so I didn't, but they hustling me. They hustling me. See, they got piped into the rich Arab book. They work in the book depository for all the big bag, hard. I mean, you can't hardly get them unless you pay top dollar. And we'd be running them, and they just still fill the brother up, and the brother would be. Anyway, whether it was books, whether it was a Mighty Brain, we used to have all those guys locked up, locked into what we was doing, because they had to get rid of those books for Saudi Arabia or whoever. And we say, hey man, shoot, with Mighty Bray, I paid $25 a box for serious buy. So heavy you can't hardly lift it. I could lift it now, but then I was younger. Man, look at here. All the stuff you see around here, they thought it was magic. That's where most of it come from. From hustling books. We hustled books. Big time. I mean, and program after program, and then no overhead. Remember, we did the Masjid right there. There's no overhead, the little gas, little light and stuff like that. So we could stack up money. It ain't like now we got all this property and very little income. But that'll change, don't worry about it. So here's the point, dear believers. Everybody around here is here because I would just say, somebody sent them. I mean, all the people that come in and do stuff, when they were at wherever they was, there's a hook that you can get. You can pipe yourself into the government. Like people write all the writs, people do all of that kind of semi-legal work in the prison, right? The government put their niggas there. So that all the writs that's going to be against the government, they got to first look at them. Because they man has helped putting them together. All the letters you're going to write to the government, they're going to go through their Negroes. This is common all over. Some of the main people in the law library, they're going to be long timers. And if they can knock off, if they're gonna do 40 years and they can knock off 10 years, what do you think they're gonna do? I talked to, just the other night, and yeah, I was so-and-so, well, how much was it? I just did 30 years, okay, fine. And I'm doing this, that, another, fine. I just explained. Not everybody is doing it, but this is government policy. If everybody can tell you exactly what Alan Moody has been writing to the government, of course, Negro has been writing it. It was some brothers came here one time, Lebanese and the Negro, say, well, why did they put me in the media unit, you know? I said, cause you're half Arab, you're from Lebanon, and they need information. So you got a certain other kind of case, they put you in there. I said, they always put people in there with those guys so they can, the guy didn't even look up. And the Negro didn't know what I was saying, he was right here. He was right here, he was listening to it. So everybody know what's going on. Everybody know what's going on. And now I'll get back to what we have to do here. This is Ramadan. This is a beautiful month. We're an evolving community. Inshallah, we're going to evolve to the point to where psychologically where we are now is, I don't know, it don't sound like it, but I'm going to just say it. There's an evolutionary process that goes on in Islam. And what was it a few years ago? Humor, love, and optimism, something like that? Kindness and optimism, yeah. Right. Okay. As the years go on, that stuff gets stuck. You know, I mean, it's the more you do it, you really, you know, that becomes a part of your ideology. And that's what's happening. And technically, that's what's been happening. So anything that you see or saw that was written 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, or whatever, by now it's really incorporated. Brother Tufel and I used to talk about it on the phone a lot when I was in California. That stuff really becomes a part of you. All right. So therefore, that's where we are now. And we are not, things are not what they look like on the surface. As far as the government is concerned is, we would be totally surrounded. That's the way they see it. When they look at us, they say, they ain't got no way out, ain't nothing. If I get up in the middle of the night and zip up, zip out, I can see the traffic will start moving right here and up there to make sure where's that nigga going. It's any time of night, all the times of night, every night. So it ain't nobody, there's no time where, you know what I mean, and maybe the people are sitting up the hill, wherever they sitting, or watching, you know, like from the inside, niggas start moving. But sometimes you just want to play. So you'll jump straight up, run up the stairs, run outside, that ain't good. Lights blinking and everything, right away. All the time, they do it every time. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. It is not new, it's been like that, okay. So try to visualize this. We are now in a major transition period from what you see around here. Okay, they would see it as though, well, we got them boxed in, affecting their income. And if they want to see it like that, that's okay. That's the way they're going to see it, because they're doing it mathematically with what they see. Let's see. We done took a Baba Clune, and he's passed away or pretended to pass away or whatever it was. Because sometimes if you play a part a long time, you get tired of, you know what I mean, playing like you got a bad heart. Let me say that again. Sometimes you get tired of playing a part. Especially if you chose a part you thought was going to last 2 weeks, 2 years. But after you roll in year after year and you're moving toward a decade, right? You say, boss man, I gotta need another part. So boss man just maybe erase the slate. I'm not saying he does, but he can erase the slate and send you off to Ooga Booga land, and you know, and that's where you'll be until he wants a reappearance or something. And the people that was right up next, they'll do the things that you will wonder why they do that. That's what people would think, right? Because if so-and-so was the way he appeared on surface, why would Ibn Klum, it's a long story, Ibn Klum is the son of clowns, the son of a clown, whoever they are. You have to be realistic now. I'm just saying that's the way it is. You can't make the rules and say, I want it to be like this. Boss man gonna deal you a hand. You don't have to want it or like it. But you're gonna have to deal with that hand. And you're gonna have to have more sense than he has. You're gonna have nothing to do about it. But you should enjoy it. Not only the game, but the time, the longevity, and the history of people that they just smashed and stepped on, squashed in history. And you can laugh and talk. With boss man, you say, yeah, boss man, we're gonna do this to you, we're gonna do that to you. And suppose you tell boss man, you're going to do 100 things to him, and you can do 5 or 10 of them. That's big. Why? Because niggas can't do nothing to boss man. Boss man dictate to everybody. Tell him, I'm going to kill you, nigga. You got another week to go. And if you see boss man talking like that, you say, oh, boss man, you wouldn't hurt old moles. You wouldn't hurt old Mose, he just playing. And then there's a crew in the boss man. You gotta remember, there's more than one crew. In boss man's crew, there are human beings that really, we always said 10, 15%. FBI agents, regular FBI agents, that really believe what they, you know what I mean? They don't want to press. They said, oh no, we're not stormtroopers, we're Federal Bureau of Investigation. And you got to remember, when you're being administrated, they got all kinds of people in that staff. They got some they start off, that's a terrible Negro, and he said to deserve everything he gets. After they watch or mess with you for 10 or 15 years, they watch your behavior. This is something. Wait a minute. Wait just a minute now. We were told, and then they run across something that they've never seen before. It's called an honest Negro. Oh, you think they don't? No, I don't believe that. So they got at least 5 or 10 years to prove that this to themselves. This is about longevity. Are you getting a feeling of why longevity is important? longevity is important to do this over a long period of time, because the longevity that we were subjected to was a longevity where he shook us out, right? But longevity from where we're coming from is where we build strategic alliances within the system and even around the system. Because in strategic management and all of that, you have so many choices you can make. You have so many choices you can make, right? Okay. Then you have to bring in all of history, human nature, psychology, sociology. You have to bring that all together. Now remember, boss man is not like that. Boss man got an expert in psychology on you. He has an expert in sociology on you. And an expert, that whole team is experts, right, in their own field. There's no totally comprehensive field. They don't look at it, they segment everything, right? So, but you're different. Let's call it holistic. And you've had time to deal with them over long periods of time. I'm telling you, 50 and 60 years, and 50 years of knowing what you're doing, and 40 years of, hey, we're gonna work this. Because see, most people, they're gonna scare them to death. They're gonna say, like Goliath, he's too big to hit. Too big to hit, they can't hit him. Then a change of mind comes. He's too big to miss. I can't miss that joker. I can close my eyes and throw wherever it lands, it's gonna hit boss man or one of boss man's helpers. It don't make no difference. You can throw it behind you, throw it down, throw it up, and let it go. Because boss man has got the world stationed around you, right? And you know it. Okay. To most people, that's bad. Anybody get a wind of that? It's been my experience that people say, oh, F that, man. I don't even want to think about that. Boss man has got everything, man. And he'll turn all the people. And boss man will. That means your relatives that used to be on your team, you give boss man 25 or 30 years to work on your relatives. They won't be on your team no more. Or you have to be able to measure those people. They're gonna give 80% to boss man. They're gonna save 20% for me. Because they're relatives. And boss man not gonna know which part they're gonna save. Even save 10% is plenty. Right? So they're gonna commit to boss man. You have to work. So when boss man look at them and test them and try them, they're maximum commitment. Because they're not gonna hide with 5%, 10%. Boss man can't tell, right? That's the thing that the people have to understand. With us, boss man can't tell nothing unless we tell him. What does that mean? What's the sign say? Oh, boss man, that sign said, no niggas allowed. Da, 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 da. And that may be what it says. But it may be no niggas allowed except Tuesday night from 12 to 2. Most men don't know that. Is everybody following what I'm talking about? We're in a magic position, and ain't nobody been even close to where we are. Nobody there. Martin Luther King wasn't this close, Malcolm X, nobody was. They didn't have the time. They just didn't have the time. And the management skill, they just didn't have the time. And people like Dr. King, history might have done him a favor by allowing him to achieve martyrdom. This is already brokenhearted. Remember when he went to Chicago? He was saying, Mississippi, Alabama, ain't nothing, right? He didn't even understand. These white folks here? Good God Almighty. Did he actually say that? He said that and he meant it. Hey, I thought Jim Clark and all them was bad old white. Hey, these northern Euros, okay. The same thing with Malcolm. Sometimes martyrdom is a great relief. It's a relief, it's not a punishment. Other people look at it as a punishment. But it's a relief. What would Dr. King done after he had to see what the Negro Superfly and all that? And he wouldn't have the power to do anything about it. That's what we learned from. The same thing, what they would have stopped on, we didn't stop on that. We didn't stop on that. We didn't say, man, this is terrible. We said, oh, boss man. But boss man, never was a horse that couldn't be rode, never was a cowboy that couldn't be thrown. That's what they used to say. They're just so talk. Never was a horse that couldn't be rode. You know, but never was a cowboy that couldn't be thrown off. Boss man, historically, he's at the height of his career in the 60s. He's just rolling along. He don't care about nobody. The 70s come along, the 80s come along. Does everybody begin to see a change? Now look at boss man. Right now. Sure, we're surrounded, that's not important. If we just keep alive and cruising along, right?